Hi, I'm Steve Kep for Time. We're here today with Ray Kurzweil, inventor, scientist, and futurist. We're talking with him today as part of our Time Frames issue, which looks at news events of the recent past. We'd like to talk with him today about events of the future. Welcome, Ray. Thanks for coming.
Great to be here.
One of your biggest ideas is the law of accelerating returns. What does that tell us about the kinds of things we'll see in the future?
The law of accelerating returns is that the basic measures of information technology progress predictably and exponentially. They double right now about every year. For example, MIPS per dollar, that's the power of computing per dollar. But it's also true of biological technologies now. For example, genetic sequencing has doubled every year. The cost has come down by half every year. There's 100 different measures like this. And this has been going on since the 1890 American census, and it's remarkably smooth and predictable. So computers are going to keep getting smaller and smaller. They're ultimately going to be so tiny we won't see them. They'll be woven in our clothing, in the environment. Images will be written directly to our retina from our eyeglasses. We'll be in full immersion virtual reality environments. Augmented reality, I'll look at you and it'll pop up, will remind me, it's your birthday next Tuesday. Remind me what people's names are. That would be helpful. And we'll be online all the time. Search engines won't wait to be asked. They'll anticipate what we need, and they'll see we're struggling with something. They'll pop up the answer. And most importantly, we're going to be able to reprogram the information processes underlying biology. One gene, the fat insulin receptor gene, says hold on to every calorie because the next hunting season may not work out so well. I'd like to be able to tell my fat insulin receptor gene, you don't need to do that. I'm confident I'll have food tomorrow. And that was actually tried. We have the technologies now to turn genes off. That was tried in animal experiments. These animals ate a lot and remained slim, and they lived 20% longer, and there are pharmaceutical companies rushing to bring that idea to the human market. That's just one example of how we will reprogram our biology.
You've predicted that sometime in mid-century we'll reach a point with artificial intelligence that you call the singularity. Can you tell us how that'll affect our lives?
Ultimately, we're going to recreate the full powers of human intelligence in a machine. By my reckoning, we're about 20 years away from that threshold. That won't immediately change everything because we have human intelligence today. We have 6 billion of them. So a few million more won't profoundly change the world. But by the time we get to the 2040s, say 2045, we'll be able to multiply human intelligence a billion-fold. That will be a profound change that's singular in nature, so we use this term. It'll be a profound transformation, but it really is what human beings are all about. Human beings transcend our limitations. We make ourselves stronger, we make ourselves smarter with our tools, and that's really what the singularity will do.
One of your great interests has been longevity. How long do you think we'll live in the future, and how will we get there?
We talk about a bridge to a bridge to a bridge. So bridge one is what you can do right now to slow down aging and disease processes, and you can do a lot more than people realize. The goal of what I call bridge one, which is applying these old-fashioned methods of eating right and exercising and so on, is to get to bridge two, which is the full flowering of the biotechnology revolution, where we can reprogram the information processes underlying biology. That's only about 15 years away. 10, 20 years from now, it'll be a very different era. We won't just be a slave to our genes. We'll be able to actually change them. We have the technologies to actually change our genes in a mature individual. Bridge two will bring us to bridge three, nanotechnology. For example, nanorobots, little blood cell-sized devices like our white blood cells, but non-biological and more capable. They'll keep us healthy from inside. And that'll give us even more time. Eventually, we'll be able to tap and access the information in our brains that makes us who we are. We have this idea that the software of our life is inextricably woven with the hardware. When the hardware of our brain crashes, the software dies with it. We'll ultimately be able to restore parts of it. That sounds very fantastic. I'd point out there are people doing that already in limited ways, like a Parkinson's patient has certain abilities. Parkinson's destroys that part of the brain. They can actually have a neural implant installed in their brain that restores that capability. It's kind of a backup. And the latest generation actually allows you to download new software to the computer inside your brain from outside the patient. And that's and that's a current therapy. So if you look at what we can do today, realize these technologies will be 1 billion times more powerful per dollar in 25 years, 100,000 times smaller in size. It gives you some idea of what will be feasible. So ultimately, we'll be able to greatly extend human longevity, and the sky's the limit.
What makes you so optimistic in general? Are there things you worry about in the future?
Well, I think the power of the technology is going to continue to grow exponentially, but how we use it is really within our own hands. And I do worry about abuse. And I mean, look at the 20th century. We had 180 million people die in the wars of the 20th century. And you can argue whether technology played a role in exacerbating conflict. It certainly made that scale of destruction possible. So it's in our hands, and I'm concerned both about promise, being able to apply these technologies to the major challenges of the world. It's my view that, in fact, only the exponential growth of information technology has the scale to address the major challenges of humanity, like energy and environment and disease and poverty, while at the same time we protect ourselves against those who would abuse it.
Well, this has been fascinating. It's great to hear such optimism. Thank you, Ray.
My pleasure.